Welcome, everyone. Those watching on YouTube and Westman Communications Group as well. Madam Clerk, we'll get going.
I've taken the roll call, Your Worship. I have taken the roll, and all members of council are present, with the exception of Mayor Fawcett, Councillor Cameron, and Councillor Tame, who sends their regrets.
All right, thank you. The next item, please.
A motion to adopt this evening's agenda, Your Worship.
Councillor Split, second by Councillor Hildebrand. All in favor? It's carried. And the next item.
Confirmation of the minutes of the special meeting of council held May 21st, 2024.
Councillor Split and Councillor Cruz. All in favor? All right, next item.
Confirmation of the minutes of the regular meeting of council held May 21st, 2024.
And Councillor Cullen, Councillor Lupke. No errors or omissions, all good? All in favor? Carried. And next item, please.
Confirmation of the minutes of the special meeting of council held May 27th, 2024.
Councillor Lupke, Councillor Hildebrand. Any errors or omissions noted? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next item, please.
It is community comments, feedback, Your Worship.
All right, this is the time where we allot 15 minutes in total for anybody wanting to speak with regard to any item on today's agenda. Going once. I guess we'll move on to the next item, please.
All right, under the order of delegations, Your Worship, we have a presentation from Ravi Hami regarding You Ride Brandon, and he's appearing via Teams.
Okay, this will take just a moment to get us live. Two moments to get us live.
Ravi, are you ready to speak?
I am, yes.
Did you want to share your screen so we can see your presentation?
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you, Ravi, and welcome. Just a reminder that you have 10 minutes for your presentation, so we will entertain questions from council if there are any when you're done.
Absolutely. You guys can see my screen, correct?
We can.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so just to formally introduce myself, my name is Ravi Dami. I'm URIDE's Western Canada Regional Manager. I want to thank you guys for allowing us to speak tonight. I'm just going to start off giving you some background information about URIDE, and then I'm going to go into some benefits of ride sharing. So URIDE was originally founded in 2017 in Thunder Bay, Ontario. Our current CEO, Cody Roberto, he was playing soccer overseas in Europe at the time, and he unfortunately had a couple hip injuries where he had to get surgery, so he decided to rehab back home in Thunder Bay. When he was in Thunder Bay, even growing up, he realized it was a problem, but more so when he came back, he'd go out with friends or just be out and about and realize that people were stranded sometimes 2, 3, 4 hours trying to get home after a night out. He unfortunately also had personal it was impacted personally. Knew people that were had driven and killed someone impaired driving, and he also had a very close friend's brother passed away at the hands of an impaired driver. So he realized this was a large problem in Thunder Bay, and he wanted to do something about it. So in 2017, he launched URide. With the vision to provide safe, affordable, and accessible transportation, with the ultimate goal of reducing impaired driving. Over the past 7 years, URide's expanded throughout Canada. We're currently in 5 provinces, including British Columbia, Alberta, Ontario, New Brunswick, and Prince Edward Island. Within those 5 provinces, we're in 23 cities, and we've actually just recently launched our first international city where we're operating in Parral, Mexico. A lot of cities that we've are now operating in had similar circumstances where the vehicle for hire bylaw didn't allow ride sharing, or there's no no verbiage to even indicate ride sharing. So we've worked with several municipalities in almost every province to build a vehicle for hire bylaw that works for everybody. Obviously, there's taxi companies, obviously the city, ride sharing. So we have a lot of experience and a lot of varieties of vehicle for hire bylaws that we currently operate in, and we would love to come to Brandon and work on a vehicle for hire bylaw with the city to be a win-win. Ultimately, it's going to allow for people of Brandon to have access to safe, affordable, and reliable transportation. I could go on for hours talking about the benefits of ride sharing. I understand we have 10 minutes tonight, so just going to touch on a few major points of the benefits of ride sharing. Those points are reducing impaired driving, safety enhancements, accessibility and affordability, and the economic impact. So to touch base on reducing impaired driving, going a bit deeper here, ultimately we feel that allowing ride sharing empowers people to make better and safer decisions. I've traveled throughout Western Canada, launching all of our cities in Western Canada. So I've had the chance to talk to people in a lot of different cities, and a lot of people say, you know what, I've made mistakes. I didn't want to wait for a taxi. It was too cold. I decided to risk it. So you go out, you have a couple drinks, and unfortunately decide to hop behind the wheel. We feel that, with the limited options at times, especially on, say, a Friday, Saturday night, people unfortunately do make that decision more often than not. And we feel that if ride sharing were to be allowed, that would add a ton more options and just allow people to make a better decision for themselves and the community as a whole. To go over some stats here about impaired driving, crashes involving alcohol and or drugs are the leading criminal cause of death in Canada. Every day on average, 4 Canadians are killed in crashes involving alcohol or drugs, and in Canada, 30 to 50% of all fatal road crashes involve a driver who consumed drugs or alcohol. There's been several studies done on rideshare and what rideshare can do to these numbers once rideshare enters a specific market. So a lot of these studies show that there's between a 3.6 and 5.6% decrease in the number of people killed in alcohol-related car crashes, and 7 to 13% reduction in impaired driving charges within a year of ride sharing. Those are from Canadian markets. Like I said, I touched on Cody's experience with impaired driving and how it's impacted him on a personal level. And we feel, there's really no better way to help reducing impaired driving than to just have more transportation options. Ride sharing has obviously gained tons of strides in recent times, and we feel if we can work with the city of Brandon and bring ride sharing to Brandon, we will help reduce these numbers and make the community a better and safer place overall. Moving on to safety enhancements. So just to talk about ride sharing and how ride sharing differs from other transportation options and how it can bring a safer level of transportation. The first one is GPS tracking. So a lot of times right now, without ride sharing, say on a traditional taxi model, a lot of people are hopping in a taxi, not really looking at license plates or makes and models of vehicles or looking at the chauffeur permit, and hoping to get to their destination. Unfortunately, there are some circumstances where that always doesn't go according to plan. And with ride sharing, there's GPS tracking from the second that rider opens the app and books their ride until that driver drops that passenger off. So you'll have where the rider was picked up, where the driver dropped the customer off, and if there's unfortunately there's an event that happens on that ride, we have full information about the route of that driver that we can share. Further to this, while you are in a ride or once you book a ride, you can share that ride with your friends or family. So if I was to book a ride, it was late at night, I didn't feel safe, I can share a link to that ride to my girlfriend, and she can watch that ride the whole way home. So she knows, hey, if the driver's not heading towards the home address, she's aware, she can alert someone, and there's also safety features within the app, such as, like a 911 SOS button that both riders and drivers have access to. Secondly, background checks. So it doesn't matter which city, which province we operate in, all of our drivers go through background checks, including criminal history and driving records, and more commonly a vulnerable sector check as well, given that there will be people that are vulnerable that will need access to this transportation. Driver and vehicle information. So this is another big feature for the rider side. So as soon as you book your ride and you're matched with the driver, you have that driver's first name, you have their vehicle make and model, you have their license plate number, and that information will stay within your app well after the ride is complete. So if you have to go back and look up the driver information, something happened on the ride, you have access to that at all times through your app. Another big one, cashless transactions. So everywhere in URide, except for one city, Medicine Hat, Alberta, all payment is done through the app. So there's no cash, which really reduced the risk of theft or a dispute between the rider and driver over the fare amount. So it's a huge advantage. Again, 24/7 support. So we have a 24/7 customer support team and driver support team in case there's any emergency or anything that arises during a ride, after a ride, where someone needs to get a hold of our team. We're always there. Insurance is another big one. So in every single province that we operate in, we have what we call a fleet blanket policy. Basically, it covers the driver from the second they log into our platform, and it also covers the rider as soon as they enter that vehicle. So heaven forbid, if there's an accident, there is coverage. There's nothing after the fact that, hey, the driver didn't have the proper insurance and a whole dilemma ensues. We cover the insurance for everyone just to make sure that situation does not arise. Moving on to accessibility and affordability. So the coverage expansion, expanded services to suburban areas where traditional public transportation options are limited. A lot of times you're in a suburban area, bus stops aren't always common or frequent. So having access to transportation in suburban or rural areas where sometimes you just can't get a taxi to these areas, the bus doesn't really come around, or it's after the bus hours. This is a big. We try to encompass the entire zone and the rural communities in any city we operate in to ensure that everybody does have access to this transportation. Late night access. This is very common for, say, a Friday, Saturday night. The bar rush, but even on the weekdays, people are working graveyard shifts and they need a ride to work, a ride home. Sometimes the bus isn't running in the late night hours. So being a 24/7 operation and being able to provide transportation 24/7 is a huge bonus. Cost comparison. So yeah, generally taxis or ride sharing is about 20 to 40% cheaper than the traditional taxi service. That differs city by city, but basically in every city we operate in, we're we compete with taxis, but we're typically I'd say pretty close to 20 to 40% cheaper than a taxi service. And then further to that, there's a lot of promotions and discounts that we offer to help reduce the cost even further. And then even promotions for the driver side to help the driver make a little bit more money as well. So kind of a win-win on the driver side and the rider side.
Ravi, we've kind of hit the wall here on time.
Shoot.
I'm just wondering if you would be amenable to sending that slide deck to administration and council can review it at their leisure as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I will.
And I will ask, we have it now? Okay, we do have it, so.
Okay.
I would just ask council if there's any questions for you before we let you go.
Sure.
Councillor Barry?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship, through you to the presenter. Thanks very much for that presentation. I just have one really quick question. Brandon being a smaller market, why did you decide to come to Brandon as opposed to someplace like Winnipeg as your first operation here in Manitoba? Like, what is it in
Yes.
Brandon that attracted you here as opposed to, say, a
Yeah.
bigger market like Winnipeg?
Right. Yeah. If you look at a lot of the cities we operate in, we typically we find small to medium-sized communities is our wheelhouse. We don't really operate in any major metropolitan areas. I believe the largest city we operate in is Kelowna, where I am, population of about 200,000 people. But yeah, I mean, we really want to focus on small, medium-sized communities, and in Brandon, with the population, kind of fit that demographic. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Lupke?
Thank you, Worship, through you to our presenter. Appreciate the presentation. Actually, ride sharing was a bit of a topic about a year ago when we reviewed our taxi bylaw. So I guess my question is, from your understanding, maybe even if you had any discussion with our staff, what would we have to do as a city as far as changing bylaws or those kind of things in order to allow you to operate in Brandon? Do you know what those might be?
Yeah, so when I reached out I think it was about 4 to 6 months ago, and I just brought up, hey, would be interested in bringing rideshare. Just couldn't get any information on the vehicle for hire bylaw. The answer I got was pretty short. It was just that ride sharing wasn't permitted in Brandon. So with that, just obviously we probably have to change the wording. Whether you lump taxi and rideshare together under one vehicle for hire bylaw. So it would just be a matter of licensing. Would drivers need to get licensed at the municipal level themselves? Would it be under the company to get to the licensing? There's a wide variety of different bylaws that we operate in, and we can share those in much more detail with council, because we want you have all the information to make the decision that's best for the city as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else with a question? None? I guess that's all. Sorry, Councillor Cullen?
Sure. Thank you, Your Worship, through you to our presenter. Would you be willing to give this presentation once again to the Taxi Review Committee that we have on council?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Yeah, absolutely. Whatever time I can make myself available.
Okay. So I think that's probably where I'll probably be making a motion to refer it to the Taxi Review Committee. And then from there, they can take a look at it and, follow up on the bylaw and sort of, run it through the procedure of figuring out where we're going to go with this. But again, we would probably request you to make that presentation again, and we wouldn't be under as much of a time restriction as we are right now. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great. And I'd look forward to that.
Great.
All right. If there are no other questions, I guess we will entertain a motion.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that we review the presentation to the Taxi Review Committee, and that the Taxi Review Board would get back to council. Now, again, I don't like doing open-ended, no timelines here, but we are running into summer here, so what would the city clerk's recommendation be for a timeline?
I would say most likely before the end of September then,
Right.
that they meet with you and that you, as the Taxi Review Board, come back to council.
Right. And would the process be that we would, as a Taxi Review Board, would say, we recommend that, we either proceed or don't proceed, and then it would be handed off to a bylaw committee of some sort in order to
There is no bylaw committee, but the taxi bylaw is under legislative services.
okay.
So your review could be to look at updating from administration's point of view, the taxi bylaw
Right.
in regards to ride shares.
Yes. Okay. Good.
Seconder, Councillor Lupke. Any discussion on that beyond what we've just had? No? All in favor then? It's carried. Next item, please, Madam Clerk.
The next item is under the hearing of delegations. It's with regards to Sid Stevenson with respect to the summer block party receiving community event designation.
Please come ahead. Welcome. Just give us your name and proceed. You heard 10 minutes is kind of what we max out at, so thank you.
Yeah, Your Worship and Councillors, my name is Sid Stevenson. Tonight I'm representing Section 6 Brewing, the Dock on Princess, and Kicking Acts. We are asking for a community event designation from the City of Brandon to host a block party.
Okay, carry on.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to add, any information relative?
Yeah, so I would like to address some issues that we had in regarding obtaining licenses and the process that it took in order for us to get to this place. The acquisition of getting permits has been extremely difficult and a little bit frustrating. It was difficult to navigate the city website, and when we did find the application, it has very little information on what is required from us and where to submit it, whether physically here or through email. There has been little communication or guidance from our licensing clerk. We actually had to come to City Hall to find somebody as our email inquiries weren't being addressed. We continually initiated communication to find out where things were at and if any more information was required from us. And then when we did come to city, we were told that, oh yeah, it had all been looked after. And we hadn't even been asked for a site plan yet. So things progressed without our knowledge, I guess. Another issue we've had addressed recently has been with city traffic. Our permit was held up for several weeks due to, I would say, kind of like a misunderstanding on the signage and road closure plans that were required from us to host this. We weren't made fully aware of what we needed. In the submission last year, we were actually, I believe we were supplied with all the signage and detours, and they were set up by the City of Brandon. But this year, we were told that it was up to us and to supply it ourselves. And so we were told to go to a traffic sign company. After looking into that, the cost would have made this event very prohibitive financially. We are taking on a huge risk financially by putting on this event, and we're trying to keep costs low because if we do have a rain day, we all know that Brandon stays inside, and we at least need to break even on this event, or we have really no incentive for us three businesses to be putting on something like this. We did submit our application on April 3rd, hoping that this would give us time to get our permits kind of in line fast enough. After talking with the LGCA, the Liquor and Gaming Association, and Manitoba Health, this permit is required first before anything else can be issued. So everything kind of hinges on city licenses for us to put on any event. So I guess I would like to ask the city to maybe provide clear and concise licensing checklist for businesses or other parties in our city to obtain special events permits and when they need to know if a community event status is required. We need to have a list of instructions, expectations, contacts for how this process needs to go and how long the process takes. I would also like to propose to the city to provide proper road signage for downtown traffic to be routed around these events for the businesses that are hosting these. And I believe that with these things addressed, this will make the entire process more streamlined and appealing for other businesses and groups to have more cities in our, or to have more activities in our community. So, thank you.
Well, thank you. Firstly, I'm sorry that you've had a frustrating experience thus far, and I would hope that all of the parties involved can help streamline this a little bit going forward so you can get this second one in the books, I believe, correct? So, if there are any questions for our presenter, Councillor Desjarlais?
Thank you, through your worship, your worship, right? It's not a new title.
That's fine.
Apologies that you went through that, and I do have some follow-up questions. Did they give you any rationale as to why the signage was on you and that they weren't going to be looking after it this year?
They were told that typically for anything that requires a street being shut down is looked after by that business. So, and that's what
But last year it was looked after by the city.
I believe so. That's what I was told by the general manager at the dock. So, yeah.
My second question is just wondering if you've had any contact with Emmy Sanderson from the Brandon Downtown Biz. And the reason why I ask is, like, now that she's in this position, I wonder if it makes sense for, you know, a licensing clerk or for somebody from the city to work with Emmy in these instances to assist as a conduit with businesses. Because I think she might be able to, you probably wouldn't have as much time to do some of the things that maybe Emmy could do to help with some of these events.
Yeah, I could see that being very helpful. Emmy has been a great help. I guess to have the Brandon Downtown Biz be a spokesperson for a business in order to get the licensing, you would have to give them some sort of representative power legally to speak on our behalf. So I don't know if other businesses would be comfortable with that or not. So, but she has been certainly an excellent resource for introducing us to the proper people.
Right, okay, good. Well, again, I apologize that it took you that long. I'm wondering, you know, I think and I don't know if it would happen in the past, but maybe next time, CC a mayor or a councillor, like your ward councillor or something, and maybe we can assist in ensuring that things are moving in the right direction.
Yeah, but yeah, if there was some package that included that.
So this one, I think,
Yeah.
will be, you know, coming from this conversation today, I'm sure that we'll be following up on those recommendations.
Because, yeah, it would be nice to see a little more activity going on in town. So, yeah. Okay.
Councillor Hildebrand?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. Thank you for the presentation. I just wanted to, just for the benefit of and all of our residents, to find out if there's, I guess, should you get approval, how to find out further information and timing, what type of entertainment you are thinking of putting on.
Like, what are we thinking of
Yeah.
putting, like, for this event?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are looking to have the whole space licensed for alcohol consumption. That'll be, majority would be beer provided by us. The whole place is being fenced off with commercial fencing, with security posted on 2 entrances. There will be live music from local musicians. We're working on approval for a small farmer's market within this area, and just a place to spend your day. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions of our presenter? Councillor Splett?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. Just for the benefit of those listening, can you give us the dates that you're thinking of for the event?
Saturday, June 22nd. It'll kind of take place from 1 to 11.
Perfect, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the presentation, the information, and hopefully things slide along a little smoother from this point forward.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Councillor Desjarlais?
Through your worship, I move that the presentation by Sid Stevenson with respect to the summer block party be received, and further that the 2024 summer block party to be held Saturday, June 22nd, 2024 on Princess Avenue be designated as a community event in the city of Brandon.
Second, Councillor Cullen. Any other discussion?
Yeah, through your worship, I'd also like just to recommend that we ask administration to follow up on the suggestion of a checklist for running events in the downtown and have something back to us.
Administration will take it under advisement and get back to council.
All right, call for the question. All in favor? It's carried. Next item, please, Madam Clerk.
Under the order of delegations, we have a presentation from Ali Wolchuk with respect to Brandon Pride.
Welcome, Ali. You know the drill now.
Yeah, it's on here. It is. Just like this slideshow. It's a PDF. Okay, just scroll down. Okay, yeah. There we go. Yeah.
All yours.
Hi, my name is Ali Wochuk. I am the chair of Brandon Pride. Just doing a very quick presentation, no asks or anything today. I'm going to start with who we are. Brandon Pride's been active since 2010. We're a grassroots group of volunteers here in the city to create inclusive events, advocacy for 2S LGBTQA+ and allies in Brandon throughout Westman. Our first Pride March was in 2015, and we've kept up the tradition of the Pride March ever since, with Margaret Amelia there, and then the Rainbow Warriors we had this past year. Outside of Pride, we've been hosting a lot more events. We have a very, very enthusiastic committee, and we've been doing an event every couple of months leading up to Pride Week. Of course, we also remain active and aware of what's going on in Brandon and surrounding community. After the book ban meeting on May 23rd last year, we stayed going to Brandon School Division meetings for over 6 months afterwards, just keeping up. Been there as recently as last month too, just keeping engaged. And we've provided volunteers, been invited as guests at various events, such as Women's Resource Center. We have Trans Day Visibility, that's now an annual event with Cirque and Smitten for the Westman Empowerment Fund. And of course, we also support our own drag house here in Brandon, the House of Hex. And we're proud to support and attend many new Pride events happening this year, including Minnedosa, Nipawin. A lot of these have popped up now. It's really exciting to see a lot of the smaller communities rally together for this. I'm going really fast because I have 17 events to introduce later. I apologize. Brandon Pride, we recently attended Pride Winnipeg in their community zone this past weekend. That's something new for this committee that we tried out. Myself, I am the Westman representative for the newly formed Manitoba Pride Alliance. This is an alliance that connects all the Pride organizations in Manitoba. Brandon Pride, we have our annual general meeting every September. I just kind of highlight this because a lot of people want to engage with us when May and June roll around. As I mentioned, we do stuff year-round, so if you do want to be part of the committee, become a volunteer, check in with us in September, and that's when we start planning for Pride Week too. As of April 2024, Brandon Pride is also now Brandon Pride Incorporated. This is a huge move. It allows us more opportunity to apply for grants and other opportunities we did not previously have. And we also have a website. It's bdnpride.ca. We have our list of events on there. We also have a list of community resources if anyone is looking for help or supplies or more information. But we're here for Pride Week 2024. It's Sunday, June 9th to Saturday, June 15th. And our theme this year is Wedding Bells. We are celebrating 20 years of marriage in Manitoba. Marriage was legalized on September 16th, 2004. And so we're really leaning into this theme. It's been a really fun time planning this. Again, jumping into this, I apologize. Sunday, we start off with Pooch Pride, our cutest event of the week. Everyone's welcome to come down to the Riverbank Discovery Center. We're going to do a Pooch Pride parade with everyone. This is just a really fun event to get people outside. Also on Monday, Sunday, Monday, apologize. I do want to highlight the Storytime and Supportive Parenting Workshop with Cirque. This has been kind of a request from parents and caregivers about how to talk to their children about these issues when they come up. When the school board meeting was happening, we had a lot of parents asking questions. How do I talk to my child about what's happening in the community? This is something that CERC is going to collaborate with us to help parents have that language and information to talk. We also have our Lunch and Learn with CERC on Tuesday. Tuesday evening, we have a presentation by Dr. Anastasia Jane Gibson, Transphobia and Bias in the Media, and that'll be at ACC. Of course, Tuesday evening, we have our drag trivia at Black Wheat Brewing. This was a full house last time, a lot of engaged people. On Wednesday, we'll be hosting a drag bingo night with Brandon Bear Clan with performances by Helia Hex and Artemis. So we'll be accepting and promoting Brandon Bear Clan at this event. It's sponsored by RBC, and we're going to get some bingo supplies from Busu for this. It's the first time we're putting on bingo, so we're really happy to get the help from these other communities. On Thursday, we have our karaoke night, and also Thursday evening, the Art Gallery of Southwestern Manitoba is going to be having an opening reception for Dysphoria. This is local artist TJ Southam. On Friday, of course, we have our Pride flag raising here at City Hall out front at 9:30 a.m. I just heard that a lot of teachers and GSAs are actually making time of their day to come and attend this in the morning, so that's going to be really exciting to see them there. Friday evening, we have our Pride in Politics with Logan Oxenham and Lisa Naylor. This is a panel that's been organized by the Brandon District Labour Council on our behalf. Friday night, we have our Pride Takeover for Free Music Friday over at Chez Angela Cafe. This event, all donations will be going towards the Westmeyer Empowerment Fund. And we also are hosting a board game night at Bailey's Cafe. And then Saturday, of course, is our big day, the big finale of Pride Week. We open up with the Pride March. Our Grand Marshal this year is Flora Hex. She is the mother of Brandon's Drag House, has done amazing work in the community, has really volunteered a lot of time to help Brandon Pride and other people. And we'll actually have the rally speeches this year begin at Rideau Park instead of the march beforehand. So many people lined up in front of City Hall, no one could hear us, so we're going to switch it up a little bit. We're also requesting that no banners of businesses or groups or organizations be present at a Pride March. This is to reflect on why we do the Pride March, and kind of a symbol of the first gay marches of the 1970s for rights. So we're encouraging signs of queer joy and celebration, celebrating the 20 years of marriage equality versus banners of corporations. And of course, the highlight of the event, you are invited to the wedding of Anastasia and Wendy, who I actually have behind me here. These are going to be the newlyweds for our 20 years of marriage equality celebration at our Pride in the Park. So we're really excited. So as soon as people arrive in the park, we'll do some opening speeches, and that'll be followed by the union of Anastasia and Wendy. We have performances by local artists and other special guests. We always have our free community barbecue there. We have an area that has supporter and resource tables. This year, we're also introducing a decompression area, courtesy of United Way Brand District. This is going to be a little space a little further away, so if all the noise and chaos of Pride in the Park is a bit too much, it's a safe space just to step back. Of course, we have our Pride Week after party. This is the finisher. It's the wedding reception. We'll be at Roadhouse, party until 2 a.m. So I did that real quick. That is Pride Week 2024. And yeah, I hope to see you all there.
Awesome. Well, you got a lot of information in 7 minutes and 45 seconds.
Okay. Okay.
You could have taken a breath there.
I could have.
Yeah. Council, any questions for Ali? You did provide a lot of information, so it didn't leave much room for questions, to be honest, but if there are any? No?
Solid.
All right, you're off the hook.
I
Good job.
appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. And who is going to move that presentation be received? Somebody? Councilor Cruz, thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that the presentation by Ali Wojcik on behalf of Brandon Pride with respect to Pride Week 2024 and the two SLGBTQ plus, 1A plus visibility be received. IA plus be received. My apologies.
and seconded by Councillor Splat. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. And next item, please, Madam Clerk.
Under the order of delegations, we have Farah Anderson with respect to the 2025 provincial assessments.
All right, please come ahead. Welcome. If you're talking about increased taxes, you're limited to 5 minutes.
Okay then. So, good evening, Your Worship Council. My name is Farah Anderson. I'm the District Supervisor for the Brandon and Souris Property Assessment Services offices, and we are here to discuss the impact the 2025 reassessment is going to have on your municipality.
Great,
So-
thank you. Go ahead. Carry on and inform us.
Okay. And I'm going to try and not use the word taxes much, so this might be entertaining in some of the wording. So this report just provides you, council, with an overview of the impact the reassessment 2025 will have on your municipality. So for 2025, all assessed values of properties will be updated to the April 1st, 2023 market values. So that is the new reference date from the previous reference date, which was April 1st of 2021. So we are back on a 2-year cycle, and property assessments were last updated in 2023. These updated assessments will be used for your 2025 property taxes. So this report's going to provide you details on how the portioned assessments have changed in your municipality and across the province, and how the 2025 reassessment is going to impact your municipal and school taxes or levies. And these are all potential. So they're modeled based on 2023 numbers. So just keep that in mind when we're going through this, okay? So the objectives of province-wide reassessments, of course, are equity. All properties in the province are regularly reassessed just to ensure they're keeping pace with changing market conditions. Fairness, because taxes are paid according to market values of properties, keeping the assessments current is one way to ensure everyone is paying their fair share. And greater ratepayer understanding. Updated assessments just makes it easier for property owners to understand and evaluate their assessments. The reassessment just reflects how property values have changed since the last reassessment in 2023, and these changes can be attributed to a combination of the changes to the supply and demand for real estate, so that is the market value, any new construction or improvements to existing properties. The province's portioned assessment has increased by $13.2 billion or 13%. And your municipality's portioned assessment has increased by $231 million or 8%. So that first table, you're going to see that is your portioned assessment changes. So this is the assessment that is subject to taxation. Your single-family residential increased by $110 million or 6.8%. Your apartments, which are 5 dwelling units or more, has increased by $20 million or 8.6%. Your condos and co-ops have increased by $16 million or 7.3%. So overall, all your residential properties increased by $148 million or 7.1%. Your farm properties increased by $110,000 or 2.6%. Your commercial and industrial properties increased by $72 million or 8.3%. Your institutional properties that are subject to taxation increased by $9 million or 9.5%. Your pipeline increased by $182,000 or 20.2%. Your railway increased by $465,000 or 8.8%. And your designated recreational, which is your golf courses, increased by $1,400 or 1.6%. So overall, your municipality increased by $230 million or 7.5%. So assessment increases and decreases resulting from the reassessment don't necessarily mean changes to taxes, right? Property assessment simply provides the basis for distributing the taxes among all the different property classes. So this report's going to talk about the 3 different mill rates. So there's the municipal levy, which is what you as council control. There's the special levy, which is what the school division controls, And then the education support levy, which is the province controls. And that's the levy that only commercial industrial properties are subject to. Shifting between the tax levies does occur within the property classes when assessments increase or decrease relative to the average on municipal, school division, or province-wide basis. Only properties that see above average increases will likely see increases in taxes. So the impact of the 2025 reassessment on the levies, so the general municipal levy, special levy, and education support levy are going to be shown in the following pages. But these impacts do not take into account any other taxes that you levy on the part of your municipality. So these are just solely based on the mill rates. So all three levies were a baseline is created. So this is all based on a model, and because 2024 mill rates were not available at the time, it's based on your 23 mill rates that were applied to your 24 portioned assessment to come up with a budget, essentially. And then that budget was moved forward to come up with what potential changes could happen based on the changes to the portioned assessment within your municipality. That is the same model that is used for both the school division levy and the provincial special support levy. So next table you see, it's your municipal and school levy combined, but really this is showing where the shift with the school levy is going to happen within the classes of property. So your single-family residential is seeing about a 0.9% decrease based on the model. Your apartments are seeing a 0.8% increase, and your condos and co-ops a 0.4% decrease. So overall, your municipality is seeing on your residential side a 0.7% decrease. Your farm properties are seeing about a 4.8% decrease. Your commercial and industrial, about a 0.7% decrease. Your institutional properties, about a 2.1% increase. Pipeline, about a 10.2% increase. Railway, about a 0.3% decrease. And your designated recreation or golf courses, about a 6.9% decrease. Overall, the model shows about a 0.6% decrease. So what that's saying is your municipality would be responsible for about 0.6% less school taxes in 2025. The graph you see just kind of gives you an indication of approximately how many properties may see increases or decreases. So the next table you're going to see on page 5 is the municipal levy. So this is the table that you guys directly control. Your single-family residential is seeing about a 0.6% decrease, your apartment about a 1% increase, and your condos and co-ops about a 0.2% decrease. Overall, your residential is seeing about a 0.4% decrease. Your farm properties are seeing about a 4.6% decrease, your commercial industrial about a 0.7% increase, institutional about a 1.8% increase, pipeline about an 11.8% increase, railway about a 1.2% increase, and your designated recreation about a 5.5% decrease. The zero at the bottom is because the model assumes no change in budget. So this really, take this with a grain of salt. This is more where you're going to see the shifts among your classes. So any properties with assessment increases less than 7.5% are predicted to see a municipal tax decrease. That's based on the 23 mill rates. So again, you don't have a budget for 25 yet, so take it with a grain of salt. The next page just gives some of the options council has to moderate any increases or decreases to taxes. So these have been around for a long time. There's the phase-in tax increase and decrease. So the Municipal Assessment Act does provide you the flexibility to phase in substantial tax increases property owners might find difficult to absorb. This one's not used generally in a 2-year cycle because you can only phase it in over 2 years. Municipal Act tax tools, these are the most common, and your municipality probably utilizes them the way everyone else does. So these are your special levies, your local improvement fees, anything like that. And you also have the ability to establish a tax program under the Municipal Act. So you can establish a financial assistance program by bylaw to provide tax credit for municipal taxes. You can tailor it pretty much to fit however you would like. And then the last one is the ability to vary property class portion percentages. So the Municipal Assessment Act does give you the authority to vary the property class portions for municipal taxes or levies only. However, this one does require provincial regulation, and I can tell you that although it's been looked at lots, it's never been implemented because at the end of the day, you would just shift the tax burden onto the rest of the ratepayers you were varying the percentage from. The next page gives you a long list of the different property tax reduction programs that are in place, and they'll probably be clear as mud by the time we get to the end. So there is the Manitoba school tax rebate. So for 24, all the residential and farm properties are receiving a 50% rebate on their education property taxes being applied directly to their tax bills. So there's no checks going out this year. And other property owners are receiving a 10% rebate on their education property taxes. But for 2025, and I'm sure everyone's heard about it, the Manitoba government is proposing to change this to the Homeowners Affordability Tax Credit, which is a credit of $1,500 on principal residences to replace both the Manitoba school tax rebate and education property tax credit. Then there's the renter's tax credit. So this credit is being increased from a maximum of $525 to $575 starting in 2025, with a maximum available seniors top-up increasing from $300 to $328.57. There's still the education property tax credit for 2024, which is a tax credit for homeowners to a maximum of $350 with an additional income tested $200 for seniors 65 and over. However, this program goes away in 2025 when the new program comes into play. Then there's the senior school tax rebate, which is a tax credit for senior homeowners to an income tested maximum of $235. The Manitoba School Tax Assistance Credit for homeowners is a tax credit for lower income pensioner homeowners to a maximum of $87.50. And this one is also being discontinued when the new program in 2025 comes into play. And then there's the Farmland School Tax Rebate, which is a tax credit for farmland owners of 40% of school taxes to a maximum of $2,500, and that program is not changing. And the last page is just how everyone is being informed about the reassessment. So your reassessment notices to all your ratepayers are in the mail today, so you can expect they'll have them probably by the end of the week at the latest. The provincial website, our website, which is listed there, has been updated with all the most current information that was used to set the reassessment. So anyone can now see sales up to April 1st of 2023 live on that website. All the fact sheets and assessment information has been updated. New for this year, which isn't really new, but it is a big push, is the My Property MB. So that replaces what ratepayers used to use their client ID and roll number to get their information on their property. Now you go in, you create an account with a secure password, and all your properties that you own in the province outside of the city of Winnipeg show up in one spot. So you can see, if you own multiple properties, you'll see everything in that one account. You'll have the ability to get your notices and any correspondence electronically instead of being mailed. And as time goes on, you'll be able to see previous assessment notices, so you can compare to what your property did in past reassessments. All our offices have a toll-free customer service line, so nobody needs a long-distance charge to talk to an assessor. We also have dedicated email addresses that go directly to each office, so people can just email directly to the appropriate office to get information they need. The assessment fact sheets, so you find them on our website. They explain assessment better than most assessors ever will, in more plain language that people will understand. And often, if somebody calls and talks to me, I end up sending them a fact sheet to explain it, as opposed to trying to explain it to them. The assessment notice has a ton of information on it, so everyone will get it, and they'll see then this is not a tax bill and toss it. I don't recommend people do that because there is a lot of information on there. There are a number of open houses throughout the province. Anyone can go to any open house. City of Brandon isn't having one because, of course, our office is just across the street and anyone can come and see us at any time. But a ratepayer can go to any open house anywhere. If they happen to be in Verdun the day there's an open house there and they want to talk to an assessor, they can go talk to an assessor there. And then the municipal administrator, so generally speaking, you will get the calls first before they come to us. If they're genuine assessment calls, by all means, send them to us. If they are calls about taxes or services, I would recommend you try and answer them first, because if they come to us and I can't answer it, it's coming right back to you, and they'll be a little more angry when they call the second time around. So that is your reassessment for 2025 in a nutshell.
That's a big nutshell. Thank you for that. I will open the floor to questions. I think Councillor Desjardins, you had one?
Well, yeah, through your worship, not really a question, I was just lamenting that we didn't have that available for residents who might have been looking on YouTube, so I was just wondering if that, we can make that presentation available online for residents.
Madam Clerk, yeah, that's possible to do that? Posted on our website, thank you. Just one simple one, is there one website? There's many listed there. Is there one that people should go to get started?
So the best one to go to get started with the assessment is gov.mb.ca/assessment, and that takes them directly to our site, so they will find a ton of information there.
Okay.
The other spot, if they're not sure where they're going, because a lot of the other, like the tax credit programs are all run through Manitoba Finance. Government inquiry is sometimes the best place to send your first inquiry, because they are trained to send it to the right department.
Okay, Councillor Lupke.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to our presenter, and just to maybe follow up a bit on that. So I wanted to check and see what my 2025 assessment is on the updated assessment is on my property. I could go to that website.
Mm-hmm.
We also, as the city, have a tax assessment map that we use that our residents can go and get all that information. Do we know when that information will be transferred, shared, and go on our own City of Brandon tax assessment map? Is it soon after? Does it wait until after?
I know that.
Okay. For those that didn't hear that, Mr. Tripp said that it probably waits till after we have the final roll at our budget deliberations in January, February.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Councillor Berry.
Yes, thank you, Worship, through the presenter. Thanks very much for the presentation. This is one I seem to always get calls on every time we have a reassessment time, so I just want to bring it up again, that there's always people that want to have the salmon but pay for canned tuna, so to speak. And with the assessment up this year, people have to remember, if you want to appeal your assessment, you've got till October 28th to do it, because this is for next year's taxes. So calling me in February of next year when you get your assessment tax bill, or find out what your taxes are going to be, isn't going to help you. You've got to do that by October 28th of this year, because you know there's going to be a tax hike coming next year. That's been made public already. So I just want to forewarn people that this assessment is affecting next year's taxes. So if you've got an increase in assessment going up by $100,000, it's going to affect your tax bill. Calling in March or February isn't going to help you. You need to deal with it now if you want to appeal your assessment. And that, so I just wanted to really emphasize that, because you have that on one of your pieces of information here. So.
Yeah, so if there is an issue with their assessment, because you cannot appeal taxes, that is one thing that people misunderstand. You cannot appeal taxes. If there's something wrong with your assessment, the notice they get in the spring now, the reason they get it now is they can call us, and if there's something truly wrong, which does sometimes happen, something has improved or has been taken away, nobody has been there in 20 years physically, we have the ability to change that up until your roll locks around the end of July, and then they have to appeal. But they cannot appeal taxes, so that is the biggest misnomer people have. We can't fix your taxes through your assessment. If your assessment is right, it's right. So if you do have something wrong with your assessment, now is the time to call us, and we will arrange an inspection and make sure that the assessment is right. But we get a lot of calls because they want to appeal their taxes, and there is no legal recourse to appeal taxes.
Thank you. No further questions. We will look for a motion to receive. Councillor Berry?
Thank you, Worship. I move that the presentation by Fair Anderson on behalf of the provincial assessment with respect to an update on the 2025 assessment report be received.
Second, Councillor Hildebrand. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Thank you. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Is the order of committee reports, Your Worship. We have a rural report from the Keystone Center Board.
Councillor Lukey.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Keystone Center Board of Directors did meet for its regular board meeting on May 23rd, 2024. I can advise, however, that we did have the site master plan open houses the week of May 13th. They were well attended with stakeholders, business community, and the public providing some valuable feedback, and the online survey, which remains open until June 16th, has received more than 600 responses, which our consultants say is a good response rate on that opportunity. After a thorough review, the Finance Committee presented a report on the financial statements for the end of the third quarter, which for the Keystone Center is the end of April. The third quarter financial projection based on the data provided by our accounting department. With the information available, the projected net loss on operations for the 2023-24 fiscal year is just over $950,000. That projection is an improvement of about $250,000 from our second quarter projection, but still about $350,000 worse than budgeted. Thanks to the Keystone Center management team's diligent work to reduce expenses and increase revenues where possible, it has helped improve our financial picture significantly over the last several months. Our seat replacement project began last week, seats being removed from the west side. The east side seats will remain until graduations are held later this month. And if you'd like some nostalgia in your home, you can buy the seats that are being removed, and you can contact the Keystone Center office for details on that. We're thrilled to share that planning for the 50th anniversary celebrations on Saturday, June 15th are in full swing. This milestone event promises to be a memorable occasion for all, and we look forward to celebrating our achievements. Begonia, Boy Golden, and Fontaine are the live musical acts for the Keystone Center's 50th anniversary celebration. The outdoor concert is free and open to the public as part of the day-long celebration of the Keystone Center's past, present, and future. Western Canadian Nationals Car Show will also be on site. See some classic cars in an exclusive sneak preview of their 2025 show, the largest in Western Canada. An outdoor market, food trucks, kids zone, free barbecue, free cupcakes, and fireworks are also planned for the day. And of course, the Keystone Center will be buzz of activity this week with the Manitoba Summer Fair that begins Wednesday and runs through Sunday.
Thank you, Councillor Lukey. And we have another report.
Were there any questions in regards to Councillor Lukey's report?
None. Very thorough.
Then we have a verbal report from the Brandon Downtown Development Corporation.
Councillor Zarley.
Thank you. Through your worship, the Brandon Downtown Development Corp met last week. They reviewed 5 additional projects, 4 through the Brandon Downtown Business Improvement Program and 1 through the Commercial Space Improvement Program. The project cost total were $45,750, and the eligible amount that was awarded was just over $15,600. There are currently 8 other projects in the works. 4 of them are business improvement projects, the other 4 are capital projects. And to date, between the Brandon Downtown Business Improvement Program and the Commercial Space Improvement Program, the Brandon Downtown Development Corporation has supported businesses to just over $260,000 this year, and the project cost, the total cost of those projects were just over $1 million. So that's where we're at to date. There's a little over, I believe, around $700,000 left in the budget in the bank for this year. So we're right on track to keep supporting these businesses, and hopefully we'll be providing this monthly report moving forward.
Great. Any questions of Councillor DeJarle? No? Seeing none, do we take a motion to receive both those reports?
Were there any other reports that we were not aware of?
Councillor Hildebrand.
Yes, I have a report from the Vision Zero Committee, if you
Okay.
would accept that. That's all right. Okay.
Go ahead, please.
So just on behalf of Councillor Splett and myself, we met on May 29th, and we had a number of things happen. There was a review of traffic calming measures taken to date. There will be a survey coming to gain feedback and insight from the general public on reduced speed, to which a mini survey had been taken just by just an informal one by the traffic, and it revealed that many people are opposed to lowering speeds, which is a surprise, as I have heard the exact opposite. So just learning that education will be paramount in accepting any type of speed revisions. There was a presentation from the Brandon University suggesting that we use them as a pilot project on traffic calming measures, and that was given by Grant Hamilton and special guest Al Trotz, who is the safety coordinator from Brandon University. There's a discussion on multi-use path speed limits for electric bikes, helmet use, road design, and discussion on the 26th Street development itself. We touched on photo enforcement, and although there was no discussion on that, they will be coming up at a subsequent meeting, and discussion as well of memorials on the roadway, just when there is a traffic fatality that takes place, as to how that can be handled in a sensitive and caring manner, but also one that's safe for the general public.
Thank you, Councillor Hildebrand. Any questions of Councillor Splett or Hildebrand with regard to Vision Zero? Okay, seeing none, guess now we'll accept the reports.
Yes.
Motion to accept committee reports, Councillor Lubke. Councillor Hildebrand, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Next item, please.
It is the order of inquiries, Your Worship.
Yes, it is, and there's 8 pages here of questions and answers. I'm hoping it's very well spaced and senior font. So first one up, I believe, is Councillor Splett.
Thank you, Worship. Just an inquiry into an update when the gopher infestation will begin and being dealt with within the city.
Okay, through your worship to Councillor Splett. This response is from Perry Rock, Director of Parks and Recreation Services. Park staff have been working with bylaw enforcement officers and Brandon citizens to identify areas of gopher concerns. We have received locations from bylaw for green spaces and parks that have either gopher or mole issues. Poulin's Pest Control is contracted by the city, and they have been treating these areas in the city. If anyone has a concern, please report it to the City of Brandon. Concerns can be reported on the City of Brandon website main page, report an issue, and city staff will respond. Residents are encouraged to work with private contractors for pest control on their private property.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Councillor Berry.
Sorry. Your Worship, if I can follow up on that.
Sure.
Just as a question for our staff, and certainly don't need an answer, but when we are doing control methods in our green spaces, are we notifying the public? I'm just wondering if what Poulin's is using could be harmful to the public, to pets, etc. Are we notifying notifying when we're doing those kind of things. If you could maybe just get back to us on that, or let us know if that's going to happen.
Mr.
Through
Sherman? Thanks.
through your worship to Councillor Lupke, yes, we'll get back to you on that.
Thank you. Further questions on that?
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to our acting city manager. Is the historical hotspots that we've had, do we have to watch them right now and re-report them? Or are they being handled as something we're aware of and it just continues from where it was? I've got a couple of spots that have, you know, is there an ongoing process that we're just adding to, or is it, or do I have to start the process all over again?
Mr. Sherman?
Through your worship to Councillor Cullen, I'll have to follow up with operations and get back to you on that.
That's great, thank you.
All right. Councillor Barry?
Thank you, Your Worship. I have two inquiries tonight. The first one is the recent announcement by both the province and the city to repair the underground infrastructure and repair 18th Street. Can we just have a little bit of clarity on exactly where each of these projects will take place? Has the province indicated what stretches of 18th Street will actually be repaved, or is it just a stretch where the underground work is going to be replaced? Because that's a very narrow stretch as opposed to the greater length of 18th Street.
Mr. Sherman?
Through your worship to Councillor Barry, this response comes from Mark Allard, General Manager of Development Services. The last indication from Manitoba Transportation and Infrastructure was to be tender resurfacing of 18th Street from Rosser Avenue to Aberdeen Avenue. The city will be undertaking local repairs at Aberdeen Avenue and replacement from College Avenue to Park Avenue for underground utilities.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, and you have another one?
Second inquiry, Your Worship, through you. Excuse me. What is the final decision on the reconstruction of 26th Street from Victoria Avenue to Park Avenue? The bike lane was being proposed at the public open houses for community feedback, but nothing's been made public as to what the city's final plans are for 26th Street from Victoria Avenue up to Park Avenue, and after having these two public open houses on this project. So we're just looking at what's the final decision. What are we doing here?
Through your worship to Councillor Barry, again, this response is provided by Mark Allard, your General Manager of Development Services. Administration is yet to prepare a final recommendation to Council. Engineering is arranging to meet with the Brandon School Division to address their concerns brought forward in writing and at the joint meeting between the school board and the council. Following this effort, a proposal will be forthcoming on the inclusion of active transportation infrastructure.
Thank you. All right, Councillor Lupke.
Thank you, Your Worship. As I'm sure many are aware, the center mediums on First Street, Victoria Avenue, 18th Street, and Richmond Avenue require grass and weed maintenance. When can we expect that maintenance to occur?
Through your worship to Councillor Lupke, this response is provided by both Patrick Pulak and Perry Rock of Operational Services. City staff are working with the province of Manitoba regarding the mowing of the provincial highway meridians in the city of Brandon. To date, the province has not awarded the contract for this work. The City of Brandon Parks and Recreation Services are working to ensure the City of Brandon continues to be the National Communities in Bloom award-winning city it has always been in the province of Manitoba. The Director of Parks and Recreation Services met with key Parks Department staff this morning and have a plan in place to address the grass mowing concerns this week. Crews have started our plan today, which includes washing sand off the center meridians on 1st and 18th Streets and Victoria and Richmond Avenues. Firstly, all areas must be inspected by park staff for safety reasons to ensure debris which may cause damage to city equipment is removed. Any large objects, trash accumulated over the winter will be disposed of. And then due to the length of the grass, it is expected these areas to require 2 cuts to ensure the height of the grass is satisfactorily trimmed to city standards. Lawn mowing and weed whacking crews will work throughout the city this week, mowing and trimming provincial roadways in the city of Brandon. Parks crews will be placing flowers and planters throughout the city of Brandon along the provincial highways and city streets this week. A project code has been set up to track the costs incurred by this work along provincial highways in the city of Brandon. We would like to remind motorists to reduce their speeds when our staff is working. Staff is at their workplace. They are not in your way. Safety is a priority with our staff, and we ask everyone to respect their workplace and slow down. Given this work was not included in the Parks 2024 budget, we are redeploying city staff to clean and cut grass along the meridians on provincial highways. As a result, the public can expect delays in our grass cutting programs throughout the city of Brandon in the coming weeks due to this issue. We continue to be committed to working with the province of Manitoba and hope to meet with them in the near future on this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Sherman. Councillor Barry.
Yes,
follow.
thank you, Mr. Parker, or Councillor, sorry, Your Worship, through Acting City Manager Corey Sherman. Just on that last point you made about the city having to now take over the responsibility of cutting the meridians down on behalf of the province and what it's doing to the service to the citizens of Brandon in our communities. I've had several calls over the weekend about some areas in my ward district that aren't getting cut, and I think it might be apt of the city to put out a public announcement through the website, maybe and through the paper, to let citizens know that, hey, you know, we're having to do this now, so this isn't going to get done, and here's why. Because right now, there's some unhappy citizens with the level of service they're getting right now with the grass cutting in Brandon, and here's one of the reasons why, is we're having to go do somebody else's work for them, which isn't fair, but it is what it is. I mean, we want to keep our city clean, so I just want to make sure that message gets out.
Okay.
Through your worship to Councillor Barry, we will take that under advisement and make sure we get some announcements out.
Great, thank you.
Councillor Loop, you had another one?
Thank you, Your Worship. That did take care of 3 of your 8 pages, so that's good. Second one I had was, there was an online article last week that highlighted the amount of waste recycled and composted in the city of Winnipeg in 2023 and the total residential waste and a few other stats like that. Do we have similar figures for the city of Brandon? What would be our year-over-year comparison, and what would our waste diversion rate be?
Acting City Manager Sherman.
Through your worship to Councillor Lupke, this is provided by Pam Richardson, Director of Public Works. This matter will be taken under advisement for now with a full report to council to be provided within the next few weeks.
Thank you. We'll follow up, Councillor Hildebrand.
Thank you, Your Worship. This past week, I had the privilege of participating in the CNIB Get On Board Transit Ride, accompanied by Andrea McIver, a local visually impaired resident, to identify challenges faced by those who are visually impaired. Mayor Fawcett and Councillor Cruz also participated. There were a couple of different segments to the day, and so I was in the morning one and they were in the afternoon. But I was in a ride-along, Andrea pointed out that there are some recommendations and some, I think, easily remedied ideas here. So some recommendations that I heard that I'd like to be addressed are just audible stops need to be updated on the buses. Education for other non-impaired riders of any type of impairment to surrender their seat to people who have riding challenges of any sort. Downtown audible signals need to be serviced. Waiting for one crossing, a person can hear the next, and the one that you're standing at is not even functioning. Servicing the signals in general. Sometimes people have taped over the speakers or the sound devices, and then the person crossing the street cannot hear. And then some landmark ideas, such as a shelter bench, to know when one is actually at a bus stop, because one pole is the same as another. And I thought one brilliant suggestion by Andrea was just to cover the transit stop with a distinct tactile covering, so easy identification can be made. So just so you can touch that pole, similar to when we get to the end of a sidewalk and we're standing on that yellow textured surface, something like that to be added to the pole, so they know, because if you're standing at a no parking sign, it feels the same as a transit stop sign. So I'm just wondering what can be done to address those concerns.
Acting City Manager Sherman.
Through your worship to Councillor Hildebrand, this response is provided by Carla Richardson, Director of Transportation Services. We will review the recommendations listed above and provide a response for the June 17th, 2024 council meeting.
Thank you.
And you had a second inquiry?
I did. This is a follow-up on our emergency warning system. It's been a while since we've had the 2 water advisories in Brandon, and I had inquired about the use of the emergency alert system for this type of situation. And I'm wondering if the emergency alert policy has been updated so that we can ensure residents have immediate alert should another unfortunate incident occur related to water. That's my inquiry there.
Thank you. Mr. Sherman?
Thank you, through your worship, to Councillor Hildebrand. This response is from Tobin Prasnik, your emergency manager. Not as lengthy as the grass cutting one, but a little bit longer answer here. A review of the Brandon Emergency Public Alert Program was completed by a task group made up of utilities, BFES, BPS, 911, ITC, and emergency management after the 2 boil water advisories and the following procedures remain in place. The activation of the siren system may take place when one or more of the following conditions exist. Life or safety of groups, neighborhoods, or entire city of citizens is at risk. Danger to community is impending and widespread. Potential impact on the community is catastrophic, and general public needs to be informed of critical life-saving information. Examples of hazards that would activate the system are as follows. Hazardous materials release, severe weather, example is a tornado has touched down, flooding, flash flooding, dike failure, wildfire, and contaminated drinking water supply that poses an immediate threat to life. The 2 boil water advisories, or the 2 previous boil water advisories were initiated due to the length of time during a loss in pressure of the distribution system. They did not cause an immediate threat to life or safety or identify as a confirmed risk, therefore neither incident met the siren activation criteria. However, the process did identify the need to research alternate mechanisms to enhance the city's alerting and communication processes during an emergency. An assessment of our internal processes and external products is ongoing as we look to augment our overall alerting program.
So just as a follow-up, does that mean that there isn't a policy change then? Is that how am I understanding that? Or is there a date set where if a boil water advisory is in effect, where we would hear?
I will ask Chief Harlow if he's got any additional information on this.
Through your worship, to Councillor Hildebrand. So in our review, as the last part of that identified, is that the 2 boil water advisories did not meet the requirement for activating the sirens. But what it has also done is provide us obviously an opportunity to review the whole process. So we are currently reviewing it, and there will be changes, and I think it's important to keep you all abreast of that. So they will be coming forthright, but it may include going further than just what the sirens do, because what we have obviously identified is that even activating the sirens doesn't explain everything to everybody as to where to go and how to actually prepare for that. So that's brought about a lot of discussion, and like I said in the final part of Tobin Prasnik's comments there, we are reviewing it, and we will have some more information to follow shortly.
Is there a date that has been set as a target for that?
What we're hoping to have in place is something in the next, for sure by the end of the year, but even sooner. A lot of that is the Alert Ready program that we have for with the province, starting those discussions with EMO, with the activation of the sirens, comes also the activation of the resources to inform the citizens quicker, but once again, still following that format, life risk. Perhaps the water advisory didn't get to a life risk situation because it's a little bit higher, but we need to look at other avenues to inform the public quicker. Okay?
Thank you, Chief Carl. And were there any other inquiries that have come in after the agenda was all set in stone? Councillor Desjardins.
Yeah, thank you, to your worship, and it's nothing I'm expecting an answer for right now, but it is something I want to put back on the administration's radar, and that is a backlane maintenance and renewal strategy. My understanding is that there might have been some misunderstanding as to what we were requesting when it was part of our strategic plan, but we're not looking for, the annual maintenance plan we're actually looking for a strategy on how we're going to renew some of our aging back lanes, some of them that have been turned into asphalt, probably, and in a state of disrepair that we have to make a decision on what we're going to do with those back lanes, whether or not we're going to move them back to gravel, because repairing them, putting them back to asphalt might not be it's probably cost prohibitive, but also, which ones we would be prioritizing for renewal, how we would pay for those repairs, and we still haven't seen anything. So I'd like to put it back on administration's radar. Would love to have something come back to council before the fall for us to review, so that we have something at the very least in place for us to mull over during budget deliberations.
Okay, Acting City Manager Sherman, I suspect you'll take that under advisement and report any progress?
That is correct. We'll take under advisement.
Thank you very much. Any other inquiries come in that we weren't aware of? No? All right. Next item, please.
It is the order of announcements, Your Worship.
Are there any announcements tonight? Seeing none. Next item, please, Madam Clerk.
Under the order of general business, Your Worship, we have the 2024 contract D1 for concrete works.
All right. Mr. Allard is coming to speak to this.
Good evening, Your Worship, and members of council.
Hang on a second, please.
Sorry, Your Worship, I think I better sit this one out just because of perceived conflict that one of the bidders was
I
one of
wondered
the
if you
companies
might.
I work for.
Yeah. All right. Please proceed, Mr. Allard.
Good evening once again, Your Worship, partly members of council. Our contract D, Concrete Works, was released originally to include Louise Avenue and the sidewalk repairs for downtown. The downtown area was brought forward to us by the Safety and Wellness Task Force, identifying improvements that needed to be made both to Princess Avenue and Rosser Avenue. Princess Avenue was tendered last summer, and those works have been undertaken earlier this year. And the portion of Rosser Street was put out for tender with the other projects. Based on what we felt were some available dollars, we also included Basswood Bay, which at this point is also in very poor condition. The sidewalks on Rosser specific, city staff inspected that area and noted up to 70 repairs to be completed as part of the project. And this included paving stones, tiles, exposed aggregates, that type of stuff. So because of the type of sidewalk that was constructed there from an aesthetics perspective, there is a fair bit to undertake the repairs of that. We did get 2 bids on the tender, with the low bid at about $620,000. The second bid was very close, within about 10% of the first bid. With that, we are over budget, and most specifically on that Rosser Avenue because of the types of work that were done there. So we come to council today with a couple of options to move forward at this point. Option 1 would be to request additional funds to proceed with the tender as issued. We would require an additional $230,000 from the gas tax reserve to proceed with the project. Another option we considered was to defer and re-envision the downtown sidewalk repair and/or replacement. We appreciate the aesthetics for downtown and revitalizing downtown, and quite possibly a total reconstruction or replacement of that may be better value for money, and that is something that we could consider going forward. There are actually some other works in the queue, traffic signal replacements, and some drainage. So we could consider those works along with a re-envisioned sidewalk on Rosser Avenue. We did indicate we added Basswood Bay, and now that the the bids have come in where they are, we could remove Basswood Bay and defer it to 2025. Our recommendation at this time is to defer the downtown and re-envision some of that. I think even if we were to expend the funds for downtown, there's going to continue to be maintenance issues with it. We're going to address what's there today, but we envision that as the years carry forward, there will continue to be movement in the brickwork that's there or different parts of that sidewalk. So we're not confident that the money we would spend today would resolve that. So it would be administration's preference to defer Rosser, re-envision it, and likely do an entire sidewalk replacement. Unfortunately, it may have to be a singular block at a time, so we would have to phase it. So our recommendation at this point is that we accept the low bid to carry out the contract D1, and it is awarded for the value of $375,000, which would include Louise Avenue and Basswood Bay, and we would defer that of Rosser Avenue.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Allard. What is council's wishes? Councilor Cullen.
Thank you, Your Worship. I, for one, am disappointed that we're not going ahead with the downtown repairs. It's been years and years of neglect on those sidewalks. This didn't happen overnight. If we would have been doing some preventative maintenance as we kind of went along, that didn't happen. And now we've got like a big project and it's going over budget a little bit here. But I mean, I walked the streets the other day and just noticed all the little white paint that was around some of the areas that had been identified that they'd sunk or whatever. A lot of this isn't rocket science. It's just a matter of pulling those pavers back out and replacing the ones that are broken and those kind of things. Yeah, it's labor intensive and yeah, it has to be done, but it's just one of those things where, you know, to defer it again and now go back and do detailed design, and I can imagine what the entire replacement of the entire street would be as compared to doing the maintenance. Like we'd be, that number would be extremely scary. So I would like to see it go ahead and the repair work being done. And I know it's against administration's advice right now, but that's how I feel about it. It's like I've been trying to get those pavers that are kind of got a little bit of a decoration, wheat sheave, replaced forever. Going on 8 years now, and you know, we had a stamp, and then we lost the stamp, and then we you know, it just kept getting delayed. Now I'm seeing another delay, so I'm not. I won't be voting for delaying it. If anything, I'll vote for adding to the budget and getting this done.
Through your worship to Councillor Cullen. Absolutely. We've struggled with this ourselves. Our feeling is that, you know, there will continue to be movement, and I think partly based on the way the sidewalks were initially constructed. You are correct. Some of the work is not difficult, but you know, the level of effort that has to go into each individual little spot and that type of thing. So we bring it forward certainly as options, and we're happy to take council's direction on this, on what they feel is the right solution. But you know, we could look at a more permanent solution of replacing all of that works, or we just continue to maintain it, you know, as we go along. So I think all options are reasonable, but just given the light of our financial situation and that type of stuff, we thought giving an option on maybe
Councillor Hildebrand?
Yeah, thank you, Richard. What is the detail of the work that would be taking place on Basswood Bay?
On Basswood Bay, it's just a residential sidewalk that, again, is in a very poor condition. So it's just your typical trip fall hazards and that type of stuff, as is part of the issue on Rosser Avenue. As settlement is different between, you know, the concrete and the bricks that are there and that type of stuff, you know, some of those become 2-3 inch trip hazards, and so Basswood Bay is more of a residential setting, where Rosser Avenue obviously is part of our downtown.
Mr. Allard, I have a question or two, if I could. If we did vote to expend the extra money from the gas tax reserve, can we even get this work done? We often run into that where we get all gung-ho, we want to take on a bunch of projects, and then we can't get them done anyway. Are we able to get all three done if was council's wish?
I believe so. There's no indication that the work certainly would not be started this year, and I think there's every opportunity for completion. We're just in the early stages of June right now. I don't think Powell Construction has a lot of work currently with the city. I don't know what else they have in their schedule for the summer. But we do recognize that the project from last year was deferred to this year, and Zenith Paving certainly did have their hands full with works on the 18th Street Bridge, work out on PTH 1. I think they very much overcommitted themselves last year, and I think they were aware of that, but I don't think this year is the same situation.
Thank you. I have one more question, and then we have a couple more. I'm not a procurement expert, and so I defer to somewhere else, but you said the low bid came in at $620,000. And if we're reducing it down to 300 or whatever the number is now, is that considered a material change, and do we need to re-tender this work, or I'm not sure how that works, that's all
No, I don't believe so. I think the contract, is very straightforward. The work is, this work is a little bit different, but it's all within the concrete realm of things. We have undertaken this type of approach before, and having a few conversations with the low bid, they're certainly prepared to give consideration to our proposals.
Thank you. Councilor Lukey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Mr. Allard. Just wondering if this re-envisioning of the sidewalks downtown would include anything with active transportation options with that? Have you thought that far ahead? Is it simple sidewalk replacement and repairs to re-envision what that looks like? I'm just wondering what you see as the re-envision part of that.
I think the re-envisioning is the aesthetic part of it, and possibly if we do want to look at that, or maybe giving better consideration to construction techniques and design standards and that type of stuff to prevent, differential from a concrete slab to those paving stones and that type of stuff. They all seem to be moving a little bit differently. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was right around the time I came to the city, maybe Mr. Nickel, there are some kind of standards and concepts for kind of that, I don't know what the word is, I'll call it beautification of downtown. So there are different options that we can certainly look at from more of a perspective of a replacement and giving it a little bit of a different look. Or, we can again go forward with these types of repairs that are there. So there's also, as an FYI, many of our traffic signals at each of those intersections are approaching the end of life. And there will be some replacements of those as well, and they'll impact the underground wiring and servicing, which again will start to impact the sidewalks and that type of stuff. And that was one of our envisions, that we could possibly do that work simultaneously, which A, a bit of a cost savings, and B, prevent further impact. So this is unfortunately a challenging one for us from a dollars and cents perspective. Follow up?
I guess, Your Worship, I'm just kind of caught in the middle because, I did sit on the downtown task force, and you referred to a couple of the recommendations in here, and, delaying this doesn't really fall with ensuring the safety of people, but it certainly falls within the recommendation of encouraging redevelopment of downtown. So I'm kind of caught in the middle of that a little bit, and I just think that, if we come away with something better by waiting a year, I would be almost apt to do that, as opposed to doing something this year that may not fit with the future vision of what we might have, what that looks like. So
my only caution to that, I feel, from a dollars and cents perspective, we may have to phase it, and it may be a block at a time, right? As opposed to a large, we always could. We'd have to find the funding to do that type of thing. But it may end up being a bit of a phased approach in doing that.
Thank you.
Councilor Cruz?
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to Mr. Allard. So to make sure that I think what I hear you saying is that if we go ahead with repairs on Rosser, that we're potentially throwing good money after bad, and that, so I'm wondering, if we do repairs, is it likely that in the not too distant future we're going to have to rip up the sidewalk and replace it anyway? Is that what I hear you saying?
Yeah, through your worship to Councillor Cruz, I'm not so convinced that we're going to end up ripping up the whole sidewalk, but we feel there's going to continue to be movement within that sidewalk, right? So what we have for trip and fall hazards today, we may address in 3 or 4 years. You may have, another series of trip and fall hazards. So the thought being is, if we removed it entirely and took a little bit of a different approach, both from an aesthetics perspective and a construction perspective, it's in a sense, I guess, is a little bit of the asset management concept, right? And so it's kind of a value for money. I wouldn't say we're throwing money away, but it's a value for money conversation, I would say. And we're kind of right on that cusp of, do we spend that much money in this small little area to repair? So, not an easy decision.
Your expert opinion then would be that we should wait and re-envision.
Well, and the problem with re-envisioning, and that we haven't really had fair opportunity, is, obviously there are cheaper solutions, i.e. if you just went with concrete, as opposed to doing concrete and brick and a stamp pattern and that type of stuff. And if that's the desire of council, I certainly respect and appreciate that. And I would say those would just end up costing costing the city more dollars to construct that type of sidewalk. So again, it's a challenging decision from that perspective, that we don't have good finite numbers to really compare one answer to the other. But again, I will say that I think we are happy to proceed with any one of these options. I'm just not sure right now what the best option is.
Councillor Desjardins.
Thank you, through your worship, to the presenter. A question about the 70 repairs. So are these on both sides? Like, are we talking about repair work on both sides of Rosser on the sidewalk? So my question is, are all the repairs of the same value, right? Like, can we go ahead and do 40 repairs, because that's going to make it, we're going to make sure that people can walk safely. There's still stuff we had to do, but we just said, you know what, we're going to put a pin in that stuff. This is enough for this year.
Through your worship, I asked the same question of my staff, and we could certainly do that. Attempt to prioritize. I think I used the number of the worst 20, the worst 20 spots. But we're talking like from an inch to 3 inches, and so it's not something we did put in here, but I suppose that is always an answer. I can't stand here and say that the results will be great. It will be an improvement for sure, but for how long? That seems to be the unclear part of it.
So what about, sorry, through your worship, what about going to 10th to 8th for this year, and then doing 8th to 6th next year? And I don't know what the cost savings would be, right? But I'm curious what that is. And the reason why I'm asking these questions, Mark, is I just worry that by us delaying this and doing a revisioning, some councillor 10 years from now is going to be patting themselves on the back that we finally got to the downtown. And so I just think we need to do as much as we can, recognizing that we are in a, we have to be considerate with our budgeting dollars.
Yeah, and just in here, we did say that in 23 sidewalk on Princess were completed at a total project cost of $140,000. I think these contractors really recognize the level of effort that needs to go in to doing this type of work. It was Maple Leaf that had the contract there last year, and they were second bid, like I say, within 10%. It's high. The prices are a little outrageous. We can certainly get the work done. We can try and do parts of it, prioritize it. So it's just, it's a lot of money for what we will accomplish here.
So, Mr. Allard, I have a thought here, and I'm not sure who I'm agreeing with, but I personally, I think I'd like to see us wait a year on Rosser. I don't want us to wait 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, but I'd like us to get it right instead of going halfway through and trying to, piecemeal it together. So to me, it would make more sense to get the other two projects completed and then put a solid, firm timeline on getting the review done and work with, the necessary groups downtown and consult with those folks and see what works best. I mean, maybe we don't need the wheat sheath and the grates on the trees and whatever, and all the different things. And that's just my thinking on that personally. And I don't know, I guess it's the Downtown Biz and Chamber and others that we could consult with. Anyway, Councillor Hildebrand, do you have a question?
Yeah, sorry, I'm kind of jumping maybe on the next round here, but I guess what Councillor Desjardins said kind of just prompted me, and it's been bugging me all day, and is like I had asked Mr. Allard about getting, there's a section of Van Horn that was on the list last year that got bumped because of Maryland Street had a landslide and then that. So Van Horn got bumped because of that, and that was at the top of the list. Now it's getting bumped again and because of another gas tax thing. So I'm kind of curious to know what the priority is on all of these roads. Like, are we just picking and choosing, and then like one's getting bumped, and now I'm being told it's part of a 5 or a 10-year plan, and that's kind of what Councillor Desjardins said. Like, if we're going to be doing, it's just, and if we're going to be doing 26th Street, it all ties right in together. So I'm just kind of curious why we're prioritizing things the way we are. So I don't understand the Basswood Bay part of this project, but I know that the federal gas tax program was supposed to fund other parts of Brandon, and now those are getting bumped for that. So I just would like to have some clarification on what we're doing here, and why, and when.
Through your worship to Councillor Hildebrand, and I appreciate your question, and I think Councillor Desjardins even brought that up as we were wrapping up, I think, our budget deliberations about what our sidewalk program may look like going forward based on some of our sidewalk condition and that type of thing. We have scrambled over the last couple of years, I think, in prioritizing some of this work properly. That is one of the reasons I advocate so hard for asset management. Do we have a perfect answer right now? Unfortunately, I'd say no, we don't. We are attempting to do what we are considering higher risk projects. We are trying to consider repair of existing infrastructure over maybe building new infrastructure. And I think, several people can take 10 roads and maybe have a little bit of an opinion on which are a higher priority. But for now, we are using the sidewalk condition assessment to try and assist in prioritizing. We are, again, trying to look at the repair of existing sidewalks over potentially new sidewalks. And then it's the overarching dollars and the available dollars. A lot of our gas tax now are starting to support other programs, right? It's not just transportation. And so those are federal dollars that come in, and we're using some of that money out at the landfill, and we're using, that money in different places to try and support other areas. So admittedly, we don't have a perfect system. We are working towards that in trying to bring council, a solid 10-year plan that they could commit to going forward. Fortunately, we just really don't have that right at this time. We've tried to put a 5-year program together for you. But this is really an anomaly with the types of prices that we have in front of us here, the types of dollars that we'll be spending on this. It does address a need, there's no doubt, but it's a lot of money for what we need to accomplish.
So again, I guess I would ask, what is council's wishes? We've kind of got off the beaten path a little bit here on this one, but Councilor Desjardins.
Well, thank you for your worship. I'm sorry that I guess it's important that we have this conversation today. Right?
That's why we're here.
Big decisions. And I guess my question is about Basswood Bay. So, like, what's the current state of this sidewalk? Is this a new sidewalk, or is this a repair that we just wanted to move forward with this year, and that's why we added it to the tender?
That's correct. Yeah, it's one that we do recognize is in poor condition. It's one that we've had numerous inquiries on. So yeah, it's one of several residential sidewalks that I think are in poor shape, and a lot of them come from the base of our trees and tree roots and that type of stuff. I think we see that regularly across the city. So is Basswood Bay worse than, 10 other sidewalks within the city? I don't know if I can fairly say that, but it's certainly one that eventually needs to be addressed, and that's why we identified deferring it is a fair option as well, right? We thought that there was room within the budget when we went to tender with this, and the prices that we received, again, were a bit outrageous.
Close, or whatever.
Make a motion?
One more.
What?
I'd like to just do one more round. It's just like, is that all right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm hearing we're gonna wait until it's cheaper in order to do the maintenance that's required to work on downtown. We've had, I've been involved in discussions where we were going to put in additional lighting downtown and on 10th Street and a few other things. And well, that lamp post isn't made anymore, and so anyway, that gets shut down. And then we moved to a different thing where we're trying to replace, like I said, the medallions, which is just a glorified patio block that has a wheat sheaf design on it. Well, now it's too much of a problem because, well, we didn't maintain them, so they all went for crap, and now we're defeated to the point that, oh man, this design that was put in place by some hardworking people that came before us to rejuvenate downtown. Now we're going, oh, it's okay, we'll just dig all that detailed work out of there, and because all the patio blocks needed to be replaced, or the cinder blocks, or not the cinder blocks, but the actual paving stones, which are made out of, like, they're indestructible almost, and it's like need to be re-leveled. We're just not doing maintenance. We didn't lose the grates in and around the trees because there was, like, people walked off with them. We pulled them up and we were going to paint them, and we never got around to painting them, and they never ended up getting put back down. We had the stamp to make the concrete wheat sheaf thing. It went missing. Nobody could find it. Nobody could figure out what was going on. It's like this just keeps going and going and going for 9 years. We do lip service to maintaining downtown, lip service that we want businesses downtown, lip service that we got development corporation money that we do to invest in different projects, and yet the stuff that we're in charge of, we don't do. The stuff that's our streets, we don't maintain them. And it's like we're completely flabbergasted that the same kind of stone that's used on a driveway that sinks down, all of a sudden, like we're throw up our hands, we're going to dig it all up and start from fresh. Because we can't pull up a couple of driveway blocks and level it back out again or paint some grates. It's like this is going to be going on forever. And we just can't get, we talk about it, but we don't do anything. And we don't do regular maintenance. How many people have read the book, The 13 Ways to Screw Up Your Community? Stop doing maintenance. Stop painting. Stop doing anything. Stop anything that we've got that's nice, just let it go for crap. And it's like, yeah, it's like, I'm not seeing it. It's, I just see, well, we're going to push it down the block and push it down the thing. We'll let another council deal with it. And it's been 9 years from my perspective, and it probably started before that. But there hasn't been any maintenance done down there at all. Well, we're starting now. But, our machineries are the ones that, that just regular Snow removal has broken up some of the curbs, broken up some of the stuff. Yes, it has to be replaced. Yes, we have to, but it boggles my mind that we do not have a budget for regular maintenance on some of the stuff that we create that's our own stuff. And then give lip service that we're going to invest in downtown. We got special task forces. We got all this other kind of stuff. I'm disappointed, but again, it's like everybody knows here, if we reimagine downtown, we're not seeing nothing in this council's term. Nothing. So it's, and if you think we're waiting for it to get cheaper, yeah, tell me, like, how has that worked out for us? So, regular maintenance, yeah, maybe I'm not talking about, I'm talking to repair the stuff that's damaged and do regular maintenance. So, I don't know, I'm for investing the extra money in order to move forward. We may not get it all done this year, it may not happen, but do something.
Councillor Desjardins.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's gonna keep going, but I'm ready to make a motion. So through your worship, I make a motion that we request additional funds to proceed with this full contract. And that we move forward with Basswood Bay. I started thinking about maybe passing Basswood Bay, and I started thinking of the residents that live there. They've probably been waiting for how long, and Councillor Thames not here to defend his bay, right? And it's like, I don't want to be that guy that makes a decision that affects another area of the community that I would likely be upholding. And I think, as much as I'm the Ward 2 councillor, we're all in the downtown, right? We all have a responsibility to make these repairs, and we've kicked this can down the road long enough. And I think this was one of the things that we promised.
We'll need a seconder if we're going to continue
Yeah,
discussing it.
Sorry. That's the motion.
Okay.
And that the funds come out of the gas.
And it was a long motion.
Just to clarify, that funds
recommendation.
are coming out of the gas tax reserve?
Yeah.
Yep.
You basically, like option one.
Yes.
Yeah, option.
And that was seconded by Councillor Cullen. All right, now is there any further discussion now that we have the motion on the table?
Just to add to what I was saying, and to finish, to Councillor Cullen's point around maintenance and repair, if we do, and I hope that we move forward with this, but I agree that the maintenance of those sidewalks has to be vastly improved than it has been in the last 20, 30 years. We're watering plants, and plants are great, but the water is dripping down and destroying the concrete underneath, right? And the brick work underneath. So we've just got to address that. So those are the kinds of things that we need to mitigate when we're moving forward with this repair. But I think it's the onus is on us to make this happen, and we should move forward with all of these repairs.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion, Councillor Hildebrand?
Yeah, I support this as well. I'm embarrassed that we're not getting things done. Like, I've been telling people for 2 years that I've been on council that my street's is going to get done, and now it's not going to get done because we're going to do the road, now we're not doing anything. But I still support Basswood Bay. I support downtown. We totally need to pay attention to that, and we need to maintain our services, and we need to do something, as Councillor Collins said. So I fully support this.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. Option one, we're going to take the money from the gas tax reserve, right? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you, Mr. Albert. Next item.
The next item under general business is the application to subdivide properties located at Victoria Avenue East, Perry Street, and Cascade Street.
I think Councillor Lubke, were you going to bring that forward for Counselor Team?
Yeah, just wanted to get a deep breath under me before I did this. Thank you, Your Worship. I would move that the application to subdivide 1900, 1910, 2110, and 2340 Victoria Avenue East, 533 and 550 Perry Street, and 600 Cascade Street, lots 1/25 and 28/40, Block 3, Plan 285 BLTO, lots 1/40, Block 4, Plan 285 BLTO, lots 1-10 and 21-40, Block 5, Plan 285 BLTO, lots 1/40, Block 6, Plan 285 BLTO, lots 1/40, Block 7, Plan 285 BLTO, lots 1/40, Block 10, Plan 285 BLTO, lots 1/40, Block 12, Plan 285 BLTO, lots 1/40, Block 13, Plan 285 BLTO, lots 1/40, Block 14, Plan 285 BLTO. To create 19 lots of public road and public reserve in the IG Industrial General Zone in accordance with the subdivision application map, attachments C5 and C6 of the report to the Planning Commission dated December 6, 2023, subject to the owner or successor, 1, entering into a development agreement with the City of Brandon with conditions as set out in Attachment B of the supplementary report, 2, submitting written confirmation to the City of Brandon Planning and Buildings Department that arrangements have been made for a joint use easement agreement and plan of easement to the satisfaction of Manitoba Hydro, Bell MTS, and Westman Communications Group, and registering the easement agreement along with the easement plan if required in series with the planned subdivision, and 3, submitting written confirmation to the City of Brandon Planning and Buildings Department that arrangements have been made for addressing of the proposed lots to the satisfaction of City of Brandon Real Estate Administration.
Thank you for that. I missed, if you could just start at that, the.
Yeah,
All right. Counselor Splett, thank you. Mr. Nichol, are you going to speak to this?
Thank you, Worshipped Council. This item and the rezoning, which is coming after it, I'll just combine them together because it's the same property and the same development. So as already talked about, it's for 19 industrial lots to be subdivided. There was a land sale component that came to council at the last meeting. That was in relation to the difference in right-of-ways that are being opened and closed, and that was approved by City Council. One of the conditions of that selling that land for $1 was that the developer would be responsible for upfronting the cost and so the construction of the wastewater main along Victoria Avenue. So that there's a clause in the development agreement that's regarding that. The other components that came up and are changes are the transportation contribution, which was reduced from the public hearing. That originally was $200,000 and has been reduced to $58,600. And that reduction was based on a review of our engineering staff with the responsibility of Manitoba Infrastructure for Victoria Avenue and the assumption that the majority of those costs would be funded through Manitoba Infrastructure. The third request of the developer was regarding the local improvements. So that's the water and the sewer and the road directly fronting the lots that are being subdivided. And there will be an option for the owner to come forward with a local improvement bylaw, but that would be a future and separate process. So that would be to recover a proportionate share of some of those additional costs that would benefit some of those existing property owners. But that would be a future review of City Council. So the change there was just to allow the flexibility for that process to be considered at a future date if the developer chose to go through that option. The changes to the zoning bylaw that's being proposed are to tie it to the subdivision. So that allows us to give the zoning second and third reading at the meeting today, because if the development agreement is not signed and the subdivision is not registered, the zoning dies. So that's become our current practice. This bylaw has been going on for so long, it was under our old system. So we're bringing it up to our new system and combining these two applications together, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Nichol. Does anybody have any questions of Mr. Nichol on this piece? No? Any further discussion? No? All in favor? That is carried. Next item, please, Madam Clerk.
Under the order of bylaws, your worship, we have bylaw number 7348 to rezone properties at Victoria Avenue East, be further amended, and then second and third readings.
Councillor Lukey.
Thank you, Worship. I think I'll leave the lots and blocks out of this one. But I would move that bylaw number 7348 to rezone a property at 1900 Victoria Avenue, 1910 Victoria Avenue, 1900 Victoria Avenue East, 1910 Victoria Avenue East, 550 Perry Street, 533 Perry Street, 2110 Victoria Avenue East, 2340 Victoria Avenue East, and 600 Cascade Street from Development Reserve to Industrial General be amended by deleting Section 3 in its entirety and substituting therefore the following. 3, this bylaw will come into force when the City of Brandon Planning and Buildings Department receives written confirmation that the plan for subdivision application 4500-23-729 is registered in the Brandon Land Titles Office. And 4, this bylaw will be repealed without coming into force 3 years after the date of this bylaw's adoption, unless the City of Brandon Planning and Buildings Department receives written confirmation that the plan for subdivision application 4500-23-729 is registered in the Brandon Land Titles Office, or the applicant applies for an extension of time before the expiration of the 3-year period to register subdivision application 4500-23-729, and council approves the extension.
All right.
And it includes that the bylaw as amended be read a second time.
You don't do the amendment separately and then do it as.
We can.
Councillor, yeah, Councillor Splett. Any discussion on the amendment portion? Seeing none, all in favor of the amendment? All right.
Would move that bylaw number 7348 as amended be read a second time.
Second, Councillor Splett. Any discussion? No? Call the question. Carried.
And that bylaw number 7348 be read a third and final time.
Okay, hold the hands up high. Councillor Splett.
This is a recorded vote.
Correct. Thank you. That is carried. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Is bylaw number 7390 to amend water and wastewater rates bylaw number 7342, which would be second and third readings.
Councillor Splett.
Thank you, Worship. I move that bylaw number 7390 to amend water and wastewater rates bylaw number 7342 be read a second time.
Seconder for that, Councillor Cullen. Acting City Manager Sherman. Was anybody going to speak to this or no?
I believe Mr.
Got it
Tripp is
covered?
going to speak to it.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. So this bylaw to amend the water and wastewater rates bylaw is simply a housekeeping item to align our current rates bylaw with the most recent rates prescribed by the PUB. At the end of 2023, we had submitted a deficit application for our 2022 deficit, operating deficit. So they issued a board order in April approving that rate rider deficit recovery method. The rate is 3.3 cents per cubic meter of water consumption, which equates to approximately $6 on an annual basis for a typical household, residential household of 4.
Okay. Anybody have any questions of Mr. Tripp? None? Any discussion? Councillor Lupke?
Thank you, Worship. Not really much of a discussion. I did just want to advise our residents that I had requested a review and a report from our city administration on a water affordability program that was due back today, June 3rd. Administration did request a bit of a extension on that to complete their review and their report for city council, and we are now expecting that to come back at our first meeting in July.
Okay, thank you. No others? All right. Call the question in. All in favor? And Councillor Splett?
Sure. Thank you, Worship. I move that the bylaw be read a third and final time.
Councillor Cullen, recorded vote. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Bylaw number 7391 to rezone a property located at 1600 33rd Street for first reading.
Councillor Lupke.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that bylaw number 7391 to rezone part of the property located at 1633 Street East from DR Development Reserve to IG Industrial General be read a first time.
Seconder for that motion, please. Councillor Splett. First reading, not normally debatable, so I will call the question. All in favor? It is carried. And any giving of notice? None. Next item, Madam Clerk.
A motion to adjourn would be in order.
All opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.